Okay, so today what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to use watercolor in one of your art projects. So let me talk about the materials that we use first. It's very important for in your classroom that you use 1/40 weight. If you get the small little paper, what happens is it gets wrinkly and the kids feel unsuccessful. So 1/40 sounds like this. It's heavier. It's worth the investment. I go to one of the stores and I just buy a tablet like this for a few dollars. It's okay. The next is the brushes. It's okay to use synthetic brushes. I usually use the number 1 or 0. That's all you need for this project, which I'm going to show you. If you're moving into a more of a landscape type of artwork, we use the larger numbers, 5 or 6. As for watercolors, usually in your room what happens is that you buy the cheap one, right? I suggest buying the ones that have more of the intermediate colors to it. It works better. For setup now, what I do is I show students water, and the watercolors are on the right. We use salt to make texture, and we have our pencil. I need a pencil. You can have a pencil, thank you. We have a pencil for drawing. When you draw very lightly. This project of a flower is important because what you're going to do is you're going to repeat your skill over and over, and that's what makes it very successful. So we're going to start with some shapes and lines. I'm going to draw a circle for the center, and I'm going to draw some petals coming out. And when I talk to students, I go up the mountain into the valley, up to the mountain. And that way, I have students think about how they're drawing their line. And you try to fill the paper up as much as possible. And we have room for one more. And of course, we're going to have a stem. You have 2 sides to a stem. Most of the kids will draw one line. And you go, well, how is it going to get the water? So it'll live. And mountain and valley, valley and mountain for our leaves. Okay, once you do that very lightly, by the way, if you have to erase, when you erase something, you go in one direction and you push it off. Now, what we're going to do next is wake up our colors. I'm going to put a little dab, these look a little moist, a little dab of water on the colors. Now, we will be thinking of our color combinations. You do not want to use white. If you use white, it makes your colors opaque. Watercolor has a transparent quality, which is so nice. So I'm going to ignore. Okay. So what we want to do in each of the spaces, we want a dark, we want a medium, and we want a light area. And I'm going to show you, there's some scrap paper there. I'm going to show you there's 2 techniques that you can use in watercolor. One is wet on wet, where you put some water down, and you can see how it shines. And all you need is a little bit of paint. And you see how that skates over? Kids love that. Okay. And what's working for you is the water spreading it. I don't believe in working too hard with watercolor. The other system, this is called wet on wet. This is called wet on dry. You see, you're actually painting it. And if it gets to this look right here, what you want to do is add more water. So you can allow 2 systems. I'm going to focus on the wet and on the wet on wet because guess what? It's a lot easier and it's a lot more fluid. So I'm going to use a dark, a medium, and a light in here. And let's see, what color scheme am I going to use? I think I might use the red, the orange, and the yellow. warm colors here, okay? And then I'll use the blues and the greens, the cool colors here, with a little bit of green in here. So what I want to do is get some red. Now, what happens if you don't have a deep enough red? You can put some here, and the opposite color of red is green. So you can take a little bit of green, and that dulls it down. It makes it duller. And I'm going to rinse between. Oh, kids love to go ding, 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 ding. Don't let them do that. It ruins it. So I'm going to take a little bit more green. And I can take my test here. No, it needs to be redder. Okay. So I'm going to do the wet on wet technique. So I'm going to pick some water. I'm going to place it in my leaf, and where you put the water, that is where it stays. And so I'm going to I'm going to put some right here. And look what happens. It's skating. Do you notice I'm just dabbing it a little bit? See how I'm just dabbing it? I'm going to rinse. I'm going to plot here. I'm going to get a little bit of orange. And I'm going to take my paint and put it over the edge so that I can mix a little bit of color here, that it looks mixed. And I have enough water on it, so I'm just going to push it up. Now, what's very important is that in each shape, leave a little bit of white. That's your lightest value, and that will make it look more alive. I'm going to come a little bit more with some more of my, and I'm just pushing it up, and I'm going to finish with some yellow. Little dab of yellow, and I'm leaving a little bit of white. Now, watercolor dries. When it dries, it's lighter. So you're welcome to go back, and you can make it darker and go through the process again. So let me show you. I'm going to do this another time here again. And this is what I'm saying, is this helps you develop your own skills. I've got red. This time I'm going to try a little bit of, just a touch of brown. You can do that also. And I'm really trying to get some color here. Okay. Did I wet that enough? Let's see the difference in the brown added. Notice I make sure my edge is clear. And I'm pushing it up. Notice I'm not scraping. I'm letting the water do the work. Dab. Get some orange. I'm going on top of what I have here. Pushing it up. And rinsing, and a little bit of the yellow with a little bit of white showing. Okay. And so this is what you do. This is the technique that I found very successful. And I'm going to get some more. Okay. Notice how I'm dabbing. I'm making sure that I have a smooth edge. I'm moving up. Do you notice I'm working even faster? Because you're used to the technique. And now, what happens if you get too much water on here? You can take a little bit of a tissue, you fold it that it has a point like this, and you can absorb some of the water. Another technique is to have your brush, get it very dry, place it on your puddle, and it sucks it up. So those are two techniques to help you. Did I finish my, here we go, let me finish my yellow.
Are those the only colors we'll be using?
There's a selection of, you can do cool colors up here, you can do a dark purple, you can do a blue. Those two really work very well. And you can have it a dark purple, light purple, and blue. I'll show you some examples of the two colors. So we're learning about warm colors and cool colors. Now you notice I'm going back here, and And I haven't used the salt yet, so I'm going to show you what salt does. I'm making sure my edges are a little bit smoother here. I'm going to do the leaf next. I'm going to take, here's my water, and let's see, I want to do cool colors. So my darkest color would be a green. I like to mix colors. I have a green, I'm going to have a green brown, so it's dark enough. And I'm doing the same technique. Now my story is that when I first started watercoloring, I did the same picture 10 times. And after that, what happens is you have developed your own personal technique. I'm going to have a little bit of a different kind of green. And I'm going to add a touch of blue in here, this little turquoise. I think I'll put a little bit of yellow just to mix up this green here. And notice how I'm just pushing it. Now I use salt when it's still a little shiny, and it creates a really nice texture. And when the salt is dry, you shake it off. But you have to be careful that the kids don't eat more of the salt than they put on the picture. I found that that's what happens. So there you have how you can do a flower leaf. Now I'm going to put water here, and I'm going to grab some brown and green, and this is where you just put some lines going down like this, and you want to leave some white area. So I'm letting that skate. When watercolor zooms out like we saw it, it's called skating. And I'm going to take a little bit of, see, a little bit of light green over here. And I'm going to do a little touching. I'm erasing a little bit of that line. I just want to put a little bit of color in there. What I did is I talked and I shouldn't have. Here we go. Here's a little bit of brown. Now, you don't want your stems to be really big because it's disproportional. You want it to be thin enough. And right underneath here is where you want it to be really kind of dark. In the middle of your flower, put a little water. You can do a little bit of brown, okay, a little bit of orange with it. And what's important is leaving what? A little bit of white. And I'm going to put a little bit of yellow in there. Now you do not have to make your flower realistic. You can use wonderful color variations. You are the artist and you can express what you want to express. What I'd like to review with you is what did we use in our watercolor. We used lines, shapes, color. We used value, light, medium, and dark. We're making texture. We're trying to make it a little realistic so it has a play of space. We're definitely having patterns. Emphasis is the flower. We're not talking about balance really. Proportion, that it has the shapes look correct with in relationship to other shapes. There's a variety of colors and textures, and it feels like it's unified. Okay. Now, while that's drying, what I want to show you in your classroom for your students, it's very important to say this is a kind of a landscape. Kids like to do that. Here's basically a little landscape, and I'm going to have a little tree right here. I'm not going to finish this. What you want your students to do in your classroom is to trace and when they see the shapes, it helps them work better. So what I'm going to do is take our technique, and I'm going to take the sky, and you can use this right connected to one of your disciplines, for instance, geography. If you're talking about mountains and lakes and whatnot. And I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take some blue, and just kind of don't do it all, just let a little bit of white showing, like that. And you can take and give a little texture up in the sky. Next, very simple project, and the kids will feel very successful. I'm taking this, I'm going to go, notice I'm using the bigger brush, and I'm not happy with that color that much, but I'll let it come, because I'm going to take and I'm going to mix a little bit of purple, because it looks like that in the distance. So if you can show them very quickly how to fill in some areas. We have down here some green. Also watch the water, it doesn't get okay. And when it's dry, and I'm going to put a little texture there. Don't use texture all over the place, because you have to be very discerning about how much you want to use. You can, with a wonderful technique, is using sponge and sponging here. I don't have one right with me, but you sponge on here. And then taking the tip and using some strokes like this, going crisscrossing, and it's still wet. And what does that do for it? It diffuses it. It makes it very impressionistic. For this I'm going to just, I don't like this brown, so I'm going to mix a brown and a purple together. This is why it's important to have, okay, what are we having? What do we have? Oh, okay. And I'm just going to come up like this. It's purple, I know, but I just don't like the brown. And this is where some kids might get a little nervous about, oh, look at that. Okay. So I think you see the idea of how you can introduce a very simple landscape for your students. As you can see, we have landscapes over here. We have the trees where you can go from light to dark with sponges. I've talked about outlining, which is important for students. Remember this design, we can cross over and fill it in. This is a very good exercise for students to get the experience for watercolor. And here is, math or repetition and patterns. And this is our language arts. How about a nice piece of poetry connected to your flower? So it can go in, this can go into any of your disciplines and any of your themes there. Do a pause, will you? Here's examples of using the cool colors with a warm center. And here's an example of using our warm colors here with cool down here. So you can choose. Now I've got to let you know that when you work with this purple, you only need a little bit, and it can get very dominant. So a little practice. That's why you have scrap pieces to get practice on. So this is what I want you to do today. We have plenty of time. And see you again. Goodbye.